All right, y'all. Trying this again. So here we have two binomials that are multiplied together. So before we look at how to factor them, let's just review how to multiply them. So we're going to use the distributive property and multiply the x and the 2 in the first binomial by each term in the second binomial. All right, so that's going to give us x times x is x squared. X times 6 that's a positive 6, so it's a plus 6x. And then positive 2 times x is plus 2x. And 2 times 6 is 12. All right, if we simplify, we get x squared plus 8x plus 12. I got the 8x by adding my two like terms, 6x plus 12x. All right. So now let's go ahead and look at how to factor this expression right here. All right. Because there is a 1 in front of this x right here, we know that our first term is x in both binomials. That's 1x in both binomials, because 1x times 1x is 1x squared. All right. Then we just have to fill in the blanks for what comes next. So let's take a look at, we know that the last terms in each binomial have to multiply to equal 12. So we know that 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4 all multiply and equal 12. So let's start with 1 times 12. If we multiply this out, we get x squared plus x plus 12x plus 12, which simplifies to x squared plus 13x plus 12. That is not our answer. Let's try 3 and 4. All right, so 3 and 4, we get x squared again plus 3x plus 4x plus 12, which simplifies to x squared plus 7x plus 12, which again is not our answer. We are trying to match this expression right here. All right, so now let's try 2 and 6, which gives us x squared plus 2x plus 6x plus 12, which is x squared plus 8x plus 12. And that's our answer. So we know that factoring x squared plus 8x plus 12 is x plus 2 times x plus 6. All right, so these two expressions are equivalent. Let's take a look at another one. So x squared plus 7x plus 12 We have a 1x squared here, so we know that it's going to start with, both polynomials are going to start with x. All right, and then plus and plus, and we just need to fill in these two numbers. So we need, if you remember from this problem, you might have guessed this, but 6 and 2 added to equal 8 and multiplied to equal 12. And that's more or less when there is a 1 in front of this x squared here. That is a rule you can follow for factoring in the future. So we need these two numbers to multiply and equal 12 and add to equal 7. We already did our factors of 12 up here. So which one of these multiply to equal 7 and multiply to equal 12 and add to equal 7? If you said 3 and 4, you are correct. So 3 and 4 multiply to equal 12, and 3 and 4 add to equal 7. All right, let's look at another one. If we say x squared minus 2x plus 1. This one's a little bit different because there is a subtraction symbol right here. That's fine. Just remember that it's going to multiply to equal 1. That's a positive 1 because of this plus sign right here. And then add to equal negative 2. So go ahead and try and figure out what those two numbers are. So those numbers are going to be -1 and -1. So -1 times -1 gives you a positive 1. -1 plus -1 gives you a -2. And the way you would write that is x minus 1 times x minus 1. Let's now look at this problem. So this is a binomial, but you can factor it the same way. So this x squared minus 16 is the same as if you had x squared plus 0x minus 16. So we can follow our same pattern because there's a 1 in front of this x squared. And we know that it's going to, our two numbers are going to multiply to equal -16 and add to equal 0. So we know that because they add to equal 0, they've got to be the same number but have different signs. So go ahead and take a guess at what two numbers you think multiply to equal -16 and add to equal 0. If you said -4 and +4, you would be correct. All right, 4 times 4 is 16. There's one negative sign, so it's going to be -16. And then -4 plus +4 gives you 0. So writing out x squared minus 16 in factored form, you would get x minus 4 times x plus 4. All right, and this is actually called a difference of squares. All right, so you can take the square root of x squared and get your first term x, you can take the square root of your second term, and it's going to be a perfect square, and you get 4. And then this minus sign right here tells you that you're going to have a minus and a plus sign in your two binomials. If any of that confuses you, just ask me about it in class. You can always just write it out like this, and it takes you just a couple seconds longer, but it's pretty foolproof to do it that way. All right. And then going back and looking at this problem, you can write it out this way in factored form, or because this and this are the same, you can write it as x minus 1 squared. All right, so that is factoring polynomials. That's what we're going to do now. Like I said, if you have any questions, just ask me in class.